What if I told you that 40% of service-based businesses fail within 10 years, and 90% of those failures have nothing to do with poor craftsmanship or lack of customers? The hidden killer isn't what happens on the job site. It's what doesn't happen in the back office. While skilled tradespeople master their tools, they're drowning in a sea of lead generation platforms that drain bank accounts and fundamental business practices they never learned. The gap between technical expertise and business acumen is creating a crisis that threatens the backbone of our economy. Today, we're diving into the unseen forces that make or break blue collar businesses and the revolutionary solutions emerging from someone who's lived on both sides of this challenge. Today, we have Amanda Metzger, known as the Fix It Queen, who brings a unique perspective to the world of service based businesses. Her journey from a family lumber business to becoming a Ford certified auto mechanic, then building a three-division contracting company, gives her rare insight into the challenges facing blue collar entrepreneurs. After surviving a double rollover accident that forced her to view these challenges from a new angle, Amanda pivoted into technology, founding platforms designed to bridge the gap between technical expertise and business fundamentals. She's now launching TrackIt Pro, an AI driven project management tool that automates the business education most contractors never receive. Amanda's mission is to prevent the epidemic of business failures that plague the trades industry by embedding fundamental business practices directly into the tools contractors use every day.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Impactors Out Loud with me, Tracy V. Allen. And today we have with us Amanda Metzger, and she's here to tell us about herself and what she does to positively impact the community around her and create a ripple effect. Amanda, welcome to Impactors Out Loud. So we always start off with what's your cause tale? So tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Well, thank you first for having me, allowing me to share the ways that I impact others in my community and impact my vertical of attention towards business. So my cause tale, I'll do my best to summarize it, but my cause tale comes from a laborious background.
Mhm.
I was um, born in Longmont, Colorado. My family business is a sawmill, so grew up doing logging industry activities as a child, watching my family business. So I'm very blue collar. It very much is in my blood in terms
Mhm.
of um, work ethic and working hard. And as I grew up, I moved into automotive, which was a fun journey to be able to fix cars and understand the mechanics that makes everything kind of playing together to move forward at fast speeds. So uh, the mechanics plays a part into where I am now is a tech founder. And my journey from being an auto mechanic dove straight into property rehab and getting cap rates corrected on investment properties, which eventually led me to running my own service businesses. I operated a three-division company that did electrical, plumbing, and water treatment. And I'll say in that journey is where the first true like impact happened through some hardships in the business after I got into a rollover accident. This double rollover accident changed everything in my life, and it twisted it in a way for me to see a clearer path of what it was blue collar and trades and service businesses don't know about the things in unforeseen measure. So in that journey after my rollover accident, I moved into being a tech founder, and I launched a platform called BidMyVid. And the BidMyVid aspects or features are some of the core parts of my current tech launch. And to get it all done, I had to be creative. Um, there's a saying that there's never a lack of resources, right? There's just a lack of resourcefulness. And I have an ingenuity to being able to find the next drawbridge to the lily pad until we
Mhm.
get the drawbridge to the continent. And in order to fund the tech side, I attempted to raise capital. We did a small round, but I still needed to close the gap. So I started a consulting firm that specialized in helping blue collar trades businesses adapt fundamentals, learn the processes needed for creating some sustain and some foundation underneath their operations and do exit strategy planning. So my consulting firm is called Bring More Value, and our goal is to bring more value to service businesses beyond what they could do by themselves as we do it together. And it's allowed me to continue moving towards this now moment of being at the very start of a technology launch that truly impacts the way contractors can operate their business with ease and with automation, because the product itself is a culmination of all of my industry experience, my entrepreneurial paths, my roads of unseen, woven in a way that helps kind of, we'll just say, stitch together the challenges that hold businesses from success. A good 40% of businesses in service and trades fail by 10 years, and 90% of those businesses fail because of fundamental practice that they didn't know they should be doing as
Mhm.
it relates to the back office and administration and financial accountability. So
Yeah.
my passion is really deep in my heart, and I want to like run around like Paul Revere, just trying to tell everybody like all the things that you you would be better off knowing if you could
Right.
just hear my story and learn from me,
Mhm.
any glean anything. Perhaps you could avoid that pitfall as you go out and you believe in yourself to make your own impact with your activities, your projects, your business. So I'm an entrepreneur through and through.
Mhm.
I don't know how to do anything else other than move with intention and move on purpose. So hopefully that gives you some insight into the
Yep.
tale
Yep.
of Amanda Metzger. I'm known on social media as the Fix It Queen,
Okay.
and it's a super fun journey to help the people that help the people, if that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. Because that's kind of what I do as a nonprofit consultant. I help the people that help the people. Yeah. So, I thought it was so interesting that you said you came from a lumbering family, right? So people who, why did you not stay in that part of the business, and does your family still do that?
Actually, yeah, my father and my uncle, it's a family business. My grandfather started it in like 1950. It's one of
Mhm.
the oldest logging running, what they call rough saw timber mills in
Mhm.
the United States.
Oh, wow.
So you can go to, supply houses and get 2x4s, and they're planed and they're smooth. But
Mhm.
our family operates a rough sawmill.
Okay.
And it still operates to this day. It's still located in Longmont. My dad, my aunts, everybody. It's a family business.
Mhm.
And I would say it's not that I didn't stay there. It's just something that's there in a place for me to draw from my entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
Um, I fix things, hence being the fix it queen.
You're right.
And my father, he didn't want me to, take on the family
Appreciate
business. He wanted me to find my own way to whittle a wood, we'll call it, since we're talking about timber.
it.
And so, yeah, no, it's still there. It's still operating. I get the pleasure of being on the other side of
Mhm.
consulting, because there came a point where my education and experience grew beyond. And as a turnaround consultant fixing performance for blue collar businesses, I now get to turn around and give back to my family business and help them in strategic planning and do some of those things. So it's not gone. It's just
Okay.
not where I am in my day to day.
Right. Well, that's still good. I'm happy that the business is still open because I find that that's a problem that happens a lot with family businesses. It comes a generation that doesn't want to work in the business anymore, and then the business gets sold, or but you're still working in the business, just in a different capacity and helping the business to stay
Yeah,
alive. Yeah.
very much. It's not, I'm not in there as like, an employee or anything like that. I was
Right.
telling my Aunt Joy, what, a couple days ago,
Mhm.
I told her, out of everybody in the family, I know that I'm the one that has the capabilities, both in the front end, the back end of the business, as well as in the operations side,
Mhm.
to continue the journey and reshape it and kind of hone it down to a modernized, relevant business, because it's a sawmill,
Mhm.
and getting raw materials is challenging, especially with a lot of the regulations that come with forestry
Mhm.
and being able to harvest timber, and the effect that we have for dealing with greenhouse gas and those industry changes. So there's
Mhm.
been so much that has changed over the decades. And my parents, my dad, my uncle, they still work in the business. My dad's going to be 75 this year, and he's up and
Wow.
out in the operations. And we're the family that we don't know how to quit, we don't know how to stop, but we do what we do because we have a passion for
Right.
what we're putting our attention
Mhm.
to in this present moment. So I imagine it's going to be a transition that'll be interesting. Um, but hopefully, I can get a hold of some uh, support there ahead of any sort of transition where I would be potentially more of an active role there.
Mhm. Yeah, that's great. And then you said after leaving the family business, somewhat, you got into car mechanics. Like, so you were
Yeah,
just on the what we call the STEM part pathway, right? You just like fixing things, hence why you're known as a fixer, right? But you like working with your hands, and I guess that came about from working with a family, growing up in a family that worked with their hands as well, right?
yeah,
So, how did you go
yeah.
from your family business into fixing cars? Like, did you fix things
I'll tell
on
you the moment.
it? Okay.
I'll tell you the exact moment. It was crystal clear. So, being an entrepreneurial family,
Mhm.
I never saw myself really like having a job. I've had like 3 or 4 jobs in my entire life that were
Mhm.
for other people, but I was in high school
Mhm.
and I was working at the yard. I work after school, I work on the weekends there. And we were at this point of career discovery. And so we went to a career development center,
Mhm.
and they divided us. They divided us by male and female. And so I'm in this group of young women, and we're going through all of these departments of
Mhm.
the different things we can do. And the further I went into that tour, the more I had just this hard resistance. And we got to the beauty school department where they were, teaching haircut and all this stuff.
Uh-huh.
And all of the classmates went ahead of me. And I came to a stop at the door like a magnet, wouldn't let me through. And I got there, and I I literally couldn't pass through the doorway. It
Mhm.
it was a nonverbal, I guess, feeling. And so I stood outside the door, and I could hear down the hallway, zzz, 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 zzz.
Mhm.
I'm like, what is over there? And I walked down the hallway about 30 feet, and there was the auto shop.
Mhm.
And Mr. Moore was my instructor. I immediately went in there. I felt at home. I
Mhm.
felt familiar. I felt capable, and it felt right. So I went to the tour guide that was taking us through the CDC center and told them if I would be able to join the tour over there with the group
Mhm.
of young men. And so that's how it happened. It was all in a, we'll just say, in a moment of timing, because if
Mhm.
I did not stay in the hallway, I would have missed that earshot. I would have
Right.
went into the room and listened to the whole spiel, but something kept me from moving through the doorway in a
Mhm.
timing that allowed me to hear um, basically the air tools
Right.
going off in the auto shop. So that's how it happens.
And I like that. You took the quote unquote unconventional route for women
Yeah.
because I'm sure they
Yeah.
took you through nursing and something in admin, you know, like you
Childcare.
said, cosmetology, all of the traditional things that they expect women to do, but they don't think that women want to do things that they have to use their hand. And some women are really good, like you, at using their hands to fix things. They like fixing things. So I'm happy that you were able to go that route. And I hope that that's an inspiration for anybody who's listening to this podcast and have thought about doing something that doesn't seem like the conventional path for them and their quote unquote gender. Right. So
Yeah.
I like that because I know I have a few friends who are truck drivers, females who are truck drivers, and everybody's like, why would you do that job? Like, that's not a job for a woman. I have friends who fix cars and people are like, what? And they ask them some really disrespectful questions about why they're fixing
Yeah.
cars. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
no, that person just has an affinity to working with their hands. They understand the mechanics of things. They like fixing things. And it's okay. No, why is it that, because they're a woman, they have to do the quote unquote traditional path of being in some type of customer service or service based role? We can do things beyond
Right.
that. So I like that.
There's
I'm
so much we can do as people. And when you listen to that intuitional key, you'll find yourself in an awkward uh, uh, area that's not familiar because of how people think it should go, but it's
Mhm.
familiar to your soul. And when I went through that course, I excelled through the program and I call it drafted. I got drafted into the Ford Asset Program, and I was
Mhm.
the only female. So Ford Factory goes, and it's kind of like sports where you have a scout looking
Mm,
for talent. And so
okay.
Ford Asset scouted me into the
Mhm.
Ford Asset Program, and I went into that program in after high school, and I was the only female that was in the class. And
Mhm.
I was able to go and complete my training to become Ford Factory bumper to bumper certified. And I specialized
Mhm.
in engine drivability and emission controls. But I also did heavy line dealing with, the heavier side of
Mhm.
parts and install and diagnosis. I really love problem solving and like getting a pulse and a bead line on what's causing this not to work the way it was engineered. So I went into drivability and
Mhm.
emission controls where there's a lot more sensory monitorization in
Mhm.
order to get the effective combustible, we'll just say propulsion to power the whole vehicle. So
Mhm.
that was how that happened. And yeah, that was a fun
Was
journey.
that one of your 3 jobs?
That is one of my three, I suppose. I'm in male dominant, and when we talk about male female, I don't like
Mhm.
to uh, like recall it as being male dominant. I
Mhm.
just see that there's a lot less people that do auto, work or like you said,
Yeah.
trucking. My dad drives truck,
Mhm.
and when I moved from that into trades dealing with electrical, plumbing, water treatment, again, very little female participation. And my
Mhm.
third, we'll just say, drawbridge is into the tech space as the tech founder. And that is also a male dominant industry. So um, I guess I just choose things that challenge me
You just
in
have
a
a
way
science brain.
to grow. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like the
Yeah.
challenges because I find curiosity in it. That's one of my favorite states is being curious.
So tell
Yeah.
us, how did you get into the tech space? So we're getting into the nitty-gritty of what's happening now. So
Yeah.
how did you get into the tech space? What was your first project and how has that evolved into what you're doing now?
First space was absolutely out of left field.
Mhm.
It came out of, we'll just say, just a frustrating moment in my
Okay.
contracting business.
Uh-huh.
After my rollover accident, so I was in a double rollover accident in 2016.
Okay.
And I was running at that time, I had 11 service vehicles, 3 divisions,
Mhm.
16 employees, and I became unable to run the lead generation side, the operations. And then my husband at the time, children of my father, he was in the operations side as a master electrician, and he had to step up into the role that I was filling. And he did not have a clue in terms of how to do lead generation, how to create brand recognition and go into the community and pull in people that needed what we offered. So he
Mhm.
turned on a lead generation platform. At the time, it was called Home Advisor. It's
Mhm.
now Angie's List.
Yes.
And in a horrible learning curve that turned interesting, they drained our bank accounts within a matter of a few days. He turned on the lead pay per lead feature. And he, because of the size of our team, the agent told him, you know, in order to get that many leads, you need to go to the max budget.
Mhm.
So he assigned a contract. And at that point, they hit us with a ridiculous amount of unqualified leads. They bombarded us with opportunities that were already expired. We would, well, I didn't, but they would call, and the person would be like, I got this done 3 weeks ago. Like, why are you calling me? And it was like they were frustrated because Home Advisor platform actually was just reselling that one little inquiry that they put on the website to contractors, even though
Mhm.
that client already completed the project. So just had a horrible experience. And when I finally got out of what I call my 10-second Tom phase, because the rollover accident caused me to be unable to retain information, and it was very challenging.
Mhm.
It was just a moment where he and I were discussing the challenge that he, you know, was dealing with about basically having our bank accounts, because they once they have your debit card, you can't stop it and you
Mhm.
can't get your money back. They'll take the money out, and if you call and tell them that was a bogus lead, they're like, "Oh, sorry," and they'll give you a credit.
Mhm.
But it never results into a deposit back to you. So we had thousands and thousands of dollars that they
Mhm.
took out of our bank account. And one evening, my ex-husband and I were frustrated at it. And the birth of BidMyVid came, where we desired to make it easy for contractors to connect with the community and
Mhm.
to remove the thorn of the marketing platforms that create a gap for the people that are needing our help to actually
Mhm.
reach us. And there's this huge barrier of entry that increases the customer cost of acquisition. And that leads me into, you know, how I became a turnaround consultant and understanding a lot of times business owners in blue collar space, especially, they don't understand how to create digital assets in a value that sustains. And
Mhm.
so we'll get big projects or we'll get busy, and then we'll be on the job sites. And when it's all closed, we're like, I don't have anything lined up for this next couple of weeks. And it goes
Right.
through these cash flow cycles.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that kind of tells you a little, you know, pinhole perspective as to the crossover to move into tech space. At the time with my service company, I was running 3 divisions,
Mhm.
and my target in terms of where I was focusing was on the franchise models. So I developed the
Okay.
business model for our company
Mhm.
to rise in showcasing our value propositions. And
Mhm.
I was going after the companies that were basically a franchise model that were just, you know, doing it that way. And I realized as I was like shooting down that turret, I
Mhm.
got hit in the back of the head with a much bigger, we'll just say Goliath,
Right.
of lead generation platforms. I was like, oh, wait a minute. The franchises aren't the problem, you know,
Mhm.
basically grabbing and nabbing up small little one-man shows, three-man shops, and then throwing their logos on them, and then
Mhm.
throwing them into their systems and deploying them. That's
Right.
not the problem. That's like a scratch.
Mhm.
There's a big gouge called lead generation that is
Mhm.
putting an immense amount of pressure on blue collar people and their ability to have enough margins to properly run a true apprenticeship program, which is why we're seeing the collapse in skilled trades, because the margins to slow down enough and bring up the skills as we go is non-existent. It's non-existent. So that's how I got into trades. And there's other evolutions from BidMyVid to where I am now, but hopefully that helps you understand the
Yeah. I
trajectory.
love the fact that you had a problem in your own business. You saw a gap in the marketplace and you decided to fill that gap. Like that is the best business model ever. And I keep telling everybody I work with, stop trying to duplicate what's already been done and look at what is being done and find the gaps in what is being done and fill those gaps and you will always have business, right? Yeah, and lead
Yeah.
generation, not only in the construction area, but just in business overall, is the hardest thing for most entrepreneurs to effectively get right. Right? It's just hard for people to acquire leads. They don't understand the prospecting and how to acquire leads effectively. So the fact that you built a platform for the construction or service-based industry that way to help them to negate, like you said, the financial drain that most of the other companies had for lead generation, in that they were reselling leads. That is amazing. That's amazing. Okay,
Yeah.
so now
Thank you.
you said after that you created another SaaS program, or you're working on one now. What is this one?
Well, the evolution, it is the next evolutionary step from BidMyVid.
Hmm.
Started with BidMyVid as just a simplified tool to connect the community. So you with it, it does what it says what it does.
Hmm.
BidMyVid. So clients are able to shoot a video, say the thingy is hanging out the wall and I don't know, or this is the problem. And
That sounds like what
contractors
I
would
would
be able,
say.
yeah, they would be able to see it and be able
Uh-huh.
to communicate, I called it a ballpark price point. So we
Right.
could reduce our mileage cost to drive out there and see it.
Yeah, that's
And
great.
be able to
That's
give
good.
you a budget to help you filter out the contractors that are over and above where you thought the repair would be. So it was just
Hmm.
an alignment tool. And
Hmm.
as we got out to market, it was working in the way that it was designed. But I was and am a bootstrap startup, right? So bootstrap tech founder, fighting against billion-dollar companies in
Yeah.
terms of market space. And though we were having, videos for inquiries coming in over here, we didn't have any contractors there yet. We had contractors over here, but no videos coming in yet. So there came this like weird mismatch of
Mhm.
opportunity
Mhm.
to the solution. And so I had to take a step back, humble myself, realize I couldn't, we'll just say, machete through the pain that I was experiencing from my service business, moving into solving that lead generation
Mhm.
niche. And I backed the truck up because in that journey, I started Bring More Value, which was the turnaround consulting side.
Mhm.
And in that expression, my program basically offers 6 core fundamentals and 2 syllabuses to teach this stuff. And it dawned on me, no, you don't start at the end. You know what the end looks like, but you
Mhm.
got to start at the beginning. You got to start at the core problem that's creating foundational fracture. And
Mhm.
that is the business owner and their mindset towards their ability to do all of the things that they don't
Mhm.
know, that they master their tools, and we
Yeah.
get all confident, but then we get out there, and I call it finding Nemo syndrome. We get out there with one strong fin, and
Mhm.
we're just you know chomping at the bit to be able to share what we just know. And then we
Mhm.
have this tiny finding Nemo fin on the other side when it comes to an understanding of business structure,
Mhm.
exit strategies, understanding how to pre-calculate the profit and protect that
Mhm.
proactively, understanding systems and scalability, and the teeter-totter that
Yeah.
happens from nano to macro business
Mhm.
between outsourced and growing inside departments. So as I did turnaround consulting, we reapproached the technology, and we basically pulled from BidMyVid its few features that did a problem solve, and we expanded upon it, which is why I call it the most valuable tip. It's the tip of the iceberg as far
Mhm.
as BidMyVid, but the underneath the mask, that iceberg underneath is the real value, and it contains an automation towards the back office and fundamental data that drives business profitability. So our platform is very much a data driven integration that
Mhm.
does not do the pulse check off of financials. It has a different data pulse check, we'll call
Mhm.
it. And that pulse check is a deeper measure that automatically fixes the financial pulse check. So with TrackIt Pro, it basically is a all-in-one field tool that takes care of some standard features and functions like invoicing and things like that. But we really, as a team, honed in the values that automated the business fundamental training side of my coaching
Mhm.
into a solve, so we could uh, lower the cost of entry to access a higher level of education and fundamental training for blue
Mhm.
collar businesses. So that's what TrackIt Pro is. It's a field tool that
Mhm.
is disguised as an operations CRM, but its true, we'll just say, engine and
Mhm.
transmission under the quarter panel has
Mhm.
to do with automating fundamental implementation. Once they know it, and this is what happened on the coaching side, they'll
Mhm.
know it all day long once they get through the class and oh my God, I didn't realize. They
Mhm.
still have a hard time getting to the other side of executing it
Mhm.
consistently and intentionally.
Mhm.
So with the app and with our web platform, it basically helps them basically prime that actionary side of what they now know in fundamental practice. So that's what TrackIt Pro does as a AI driven project management and field tool for service businesses.
Yeah, I love that, because I have, family and friends who are in service-based businesses, and that is the one thing that trips them up and causes them to lose a ton of money is not understanding the back end. They can do the work all day, but when it comes to the finances and making sure contracts are signed and other bills are paid and certifications are renewed and all of that stuff, it really tends to draw everything to a halt. And you're like, how could you have so many projects going and no money? Right? And that's because they don't understand the back end component. That's not their ministry, right? They don't understand how that is. So this SaaS tool is super important to a lot of those people in the service based business. And I hope that people in the service based business is looking at this podcast and will definitely hit you up for it, especially right now where we have, like you said earlier, and I know very well that we're coming up on a shortage of qualified service based professionals to do all the work that we need to get done. A shortage on electricians, plumbers, contractors. Yeah, so I can see how your tool can be so beneficial. Probably even give them enough time to actually have an apprentice program within their businesses so that they can train the next generation, because they don't have to be so concerned about all of the back end tools that usually take a long time to do because they're spending their days off trying to do their books, right? So they can find
Yeah,
time to do
those are
something else.
evenings. They're
Hmm.
sacrificing family time, things
Yeah.
like that. So on the training side of it, in later iterations, we're at MVP right now, but at later iterations, we are looking forward to helping fast track and bend time in terms of adopted principles for the service side, so the apprentices are able to uh, uh, basically absorb information, so that the masters don't have to repeat themselves. So there's a few
Oh,
fun
that's
variables that help
great.
actually grow sales,
Uh-huh.
service trades contractors faster
Uh-huh.
by the master being able to create a documentation, aside from just regular trade school. Because there's tips and
Oh,
tricks, hence the
nice.
tip. there's tips and tricks that we get to know as masters in the field,
Right.
that once you know fundamentals on, electrical or
Mhm.
fundamentals on plumbing, when you get out in the field, you start to develop a rhythm to
Yeah.
cut time, and you start coming up with solutions towards
Mhm.
installation. And those master tips will give time back to people coming up into the trades. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a fun project, and it's a fun passion to pursue.
Yeah. Well, Amanda, I have enjoyed this conversation. I've learned so much from you today. And I love everything that you're doing because, like I said, I know it's very necessary. And I know that your SaaS program will become one of the top selling SaaS programs for service based businesses. So we're going to wrap up. And so I have two questions to ask you before we leave. And the first one is, what makes you an impactor?
Makes me an impactor is my relentless commitment to never quit. It's important that what we're doing with our time is done in a manner that allows us to sustain even when it's hard. And that's how we make a big impact. That's how we make a real impact, is we commit, and we are consistent to what we are putting our time into.
Okay, I like that. And to the service professionals out there who would possibly be listening to this, or family members or friends of service professionals, what are three impactor tips that you would like to leave them with?
Very fun. An impactor tip would be, and I got this from Steve Jobs when I
Okay.
studied great leadership.
Mhm.
He made sure to always put his time and attention towards the signal. So separating the urgent from the important, and making sure you amplify the signal of what is the top thing that is most important, and you do just that. Um, another tip would be to remember to pause. Remember to pause so you can process things, because as you are on your journey, you're going to come up to walls that are bigger than an ice wall, and to not feel succumbed to them, you're going to be able to process a solution to go over, through, or under it in the pause. In the pause.
Mhm.
And with that pause, it comes with a breathing, allowing yourself to take in a deeper breath so you can access the processor. And a third tip that I would say is, do one thing. That comes from my mentor, Rex Wisehart. Um, do one thing. Do one thing, and only one thing. As entrepreneurs, we can tend to grab at low hanging fruit, at the closest thing to cash flow. And with my contractors, I find, let's say they're an electrician, they will be an electrician and they do, let's just say, this one thing really well. But a contract will come in that's like kind of not a fit, but they kind of need some money, and then they kind of take it, and then they kind of hate their life afterward.
Mhm.
So be very intentional with your expertise. Be very purposeful to make sure that you drive on one thing, and you're able to then raise that in the value that separates you from all the others doing the same category. Do one thing and
Mhm.
do it well, and that'll set you up for success.
Awesome. Thank you. And where can the audience find you?
They can find me on all social media platforms as the Fix It Queen. I am Amanda, the Fix It Queen. And they can also get in touch with me through our website, which is trackitpro.io. That is for people that are looking at the SaaS tool and want to take a look. And if you're needing additional help, or you just want some one-on-one time, I offer moments of clarity where I'll just meet up with people in a Zoom and have a conversation, and they can get in touch with me at bringmorevalue.com.
Okay. All right. Again, Amanda, thank you for being our guest here on Impactors Out Loud. It was a pleasure. And until next time, bye, everyone.